You've seen the news, you've wondered if we're about to live our very own space odyssey, you wish it was a giant vape that you could hit, but now we've got to tell the truth. Are aliens behind the monoliths? Let's find out. So yeah, over the past little while, strange metal monoliths have been appearing in places they shouldn't have been. What's a monolith, you ask? Well, the dictionary definition is a large single upright block of stone, especially one shaped into or serving as a pillar or monument. So technically, Stonehenge is full of monoliths. Different statues and memorials could be considered monoliths. However, usually when folks are referring to monoliths, they're talking about something mysterious. Nature could make one over a very long period of time, or people could erect their very own monolith. But they're especially interesting when they seemingly appear out of nowhere. There's a particularly popular series of monoliths birthed by pop culture, and they are probably the driving force behind the widespread interests with the newfound metallic structures that have appeared all over the world. Think back to the very first time you saw apes on the big screen fighting with bones. You know the one. No, not King Kong or Jumbo the Fighting Monkey. We are talking about 2001: A Space Odyssey. People are still arguing to this day over what significance that monolith held, but boy, did it ever hold significance. An image like that doesn't leave your mind. So what was the purpose? Who put it there? How did it affect those who beheld it? Just a masterful piece of imagery. Existential extraterrestrial technology that has no business being where it was. But that really only worked in the context of the movie and the book, I suppose, but I feel like that had a smaller impact on the knowledge of monoliths at large. The monolith appeared just in time to allow a tribe of humanoid creatures to learn how to use weapons and take back their water supply. This was implied to be the first step towards the use of tools and thus human technological advancement. Thanks, monolith. So where did that one come from? Did some power beyond our understanding decide to kickstart human evolution? And if all of this is how we largely interpret monoliths these days, what's the significance of the ones that have been going viral now? What knowledge is being imparted upon us at this moment? And why does this monolith, or maybe group of monoliths, keep moving? So far, folks have found metal slabs in Romania, California, the Netherlands, and Utah. And actually, there were a few more discoveries the morning I made this video. So take that as you will. The most popular likely being the Utah one, discovered by state officials who were counting sheep by helicopter. First of all, wicked way to find something like a monolith. Second of all, what was it doing out in the middle of nowhere? Like, if it were to operate similarly to the monolith from Space Odyssey, wouldn't it be better to place it somewhere more people would come across it? Apparently it was placed in the remote location around 5 years ago, meaning that it had taken a while for folks to finally discover it. I guess in the long run, 5 years isn't that long, but if it was meant to give humanity a little boost, shouldn't it have been put somewhere a little more accessible? Like, maybe we're reading too far into that part, but shortly after it was discovered, all sorts of folks made the trip to go see it. Kind of like a modern pilgrimage, if you would. After a bunch of selfies were taken and posted across all sorts of platforms, the metal post mysteriously disappeared. Was it tractor beamed back up to the mothership, or did some environmentally minded individuals decide that too many people taking the trek out into the untouched desert was probably a bad thing? Well, the second option is actually true. A video emerged showing a group of men dismantling and removing the structure from its place in the sand, citing environmental reasons. So good for them. However, days later, a new structure popped up in Romania. This one was obviously different than the original, as the first had been removed by a group we're assuming to be separate from whoever put it there. Plus, it was covered in strange markings. It's not like language or anything, it just looks like somebody ran a Dremel over it in different patterns. Not long after, the Romanian monolith disappeared as well. And this is where things start to get a little questionable. Monoliths popped up atop a hiking path in California, outside a candy shop in Pittsburgh, near some casinos in Las Vegas, and in a nature reserve in the Netherlands. With so many appearing all at once, after the first one sat undiscovered for years, it seems as though folks are attempting to cash in on the hype. Publicity stunts and attention seeking in the social media era? Blasphemy. One has to wonder if the original was something different, with all the new ones being reactionary. But maybe one of the new ones is from the original source, but has been hidden among all these hoax ones, and it's impossible to tell as of yet though. Different artists and businesses have laid claim to some of the newer monoliths, feeding the publicity stunt narrative, but there's no way to prove a connection between them all. When it comes to publicity, what do you think these monoliths are trying to bring attention to? A new streaming service coming out soon? An artist's bold new vision for the future? Some sort of metalworking collective? It's hard to tell because they seem to pop up at random with different dimensions, materials, and designs every time. They're all metal and straight rectangular, but other than that, you know, anything goes. There hasn't been any recognizable symbolism or imagery on any of the monoliths, so we've got to wait and find out what this driving force behind them is. Maybe we'll never find out. It could be somebody's idea of a prank or a hoax, with other folks following suit as time goes on. Now, wouldn't that be anticlimactic? But one story that keeps people's imaginations going is the possibility that aliens did indeed place the monoliths on Earth for us to find. Now that would be interesting. But what would the purpose of such a placement be? Well, we've already evolved to the point where we've had an incalculable impact on our planet. What comes next for humanity? If we look back to Kubrick's classic flick, he and Arthur C. Clarke seem to say that the first monolith granted humans use of tools for hunting and fighting, which would then evolve to do so much more in the future. So what kind of skills would this monolith impart upon humanity? I suppose that's the hard part. The hominids in the movie couldn't conceive of using bones as weapons until the monolith arrived. So whatever skills may be developed over the next little while might have been unimaginable to us up until this point. We can't see the future, right? Maybe it'll present us with a new way to fight viruses in order to prevent future pandemics. Or maybe the monolith will open up new pathways to collaboration between people. We've definitely seen greater divisions than ever over the past few years. Or maybe it's heralding in a new era of weaponry. Just like the hominids defeated their enemies by overcoming the need for pure brute force via one's body, we might enter a new era of warfare as well. Isn't that a scary thought? We could be seeing the next iteration of humanity very soon and not even know it. Whoever came across the first monolith, keep an eye on yourself, alright? And make sure to let us know when the alien influence starts to take over. We promise we won't revolt against you. Maybe the aliens aren't trying to evolve us though. These metallic pillars could be something else entirely. Could they be markers leading off-world scouts to some important resources? Or are they preliminary parts for a greater machine on the horizon? Either way, our tiny human brains probably can't comprehend the bigger picture. Sorry folks, aliens are probably a lot more advanced than us if they're dropping monoliths and waiting to see what happens. Or maybe it's lizard people. Although I probably shouldn't say that out loud because I don't want to get disappeared. But hey. Now it's plenty of fun to think about what it could be, but in all likelihood this is either some sort of hoax or marketing campaign. I'm sure we'll be hearing from plenty of folks in the coming days what the true purpose of the monoliths might be. Although the first one might be something unique in its own right. In the meantime, we can enjoy plenty of memes making the monoliths into things that they aren't. I personally would love to order a McDouble from the monolith drive-thru. And if aliens are behind it, well then I'll eat my words along with that hamburger. So what do you think? Did extraterrestrial intelligence drop some big old chunks of metal all over the planet to confuse and advance humanity? Or is it something much more grounded? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more pleasant ones from What If Donald Trump Wins the 2024 Presidential Election? Jar Jar Binks says, if Donald Trump won the 2024 election, then I'd assume he'd be president. Or am I wrong? Nope, you are wrong. By 2024, they'll be calling the leader of the United States something different along the lines of Boss Nass. Uzi Spaz says, indeed, this is one of life's biggest questions. Yeah, thanks for noticing. Jesse Torres says, imagine how many emerging Republicans who are planning on running in 2024 are secretly pissed at Trump behind the scenes. Ah, politics. Everybody's pissed at everyone from behind the scenes, all thinking that they could run the country better than the next person. Daniel May says, what if Mr. Crooker from Fairly Odd Parents was real? Well, I'm assuming you mean Mr. Crocker, and in that case, I really want to see him do the Fairy Godparents in real life. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Or people could erect their very own monolith, but they're especially interesting when they seemingly appear out of nowhere. I'm gonna try that one again. Existential, extraterrestrial, nope. Start human evolution. And if this is what's the significance of the ones that have been going viral now? What knowledge is being imparted on us at this moment upon us? But the story that keeps people's Jar Jar Binks says, if Donald... No, I'm not doing Jar Jar Binks' voice today. Nope. No way. Misa. Misa tired. Jar Jar Binks says, if Donald Trump won the 2024... Chris, I'm losing it apparently.